If I've been counting my days right, and made this video quick enough, it's the 59th anniversary of Doctor Who, and how better to celebrate it than to look into its past, specifically how it began. Well, it all started with the head of drama at the BBC, this man, Sidney Newman, someone keen to shake up the old and boring BBC, successfully managing to revive the drama department with hit after hit. But, of course, what he is best known for is his creation of Doctor Who. As a long-time fan of science fiction, he immediately decided that a sci-fi programme would be perfect to fill a newly vacant Saturday evening slot, coming up with the idea of a time machine larger on the inside than the out, and the character of the mysterious Doctor, an old man that would remain as a constant in the show. He had the beginnings of something that would end up becoming Doctor Who. Well, now he had an idea. All he needed to do was get started. To produce it, he first approached Don Taylor, who didn't like Newman, so turned it down. Next, he approached Sean Sutton, who also turned it down, meaning Newman had to look for yet another person, eventually deciding on his former production assistant during his time at ABC, Verity Lambert, who, despite having no previous experience writing, producing, or directing, was perfect for the job. Lambert became not only the youngest, but the first female drama producer at the BBC, meaning many had some doubts as to Newman's choice, but, subverting their sexist and outdated predispositions, she became a great success in the role. Now he had his producer, he needed a director to helm the first few episodes. He turned to Waris Hussein, making him the BBC's first director of Indian descent. Now, with a reliable team, Newman left Lambert to her own devices, but gave her one key rule: no BEMs, or bug-eyed monsters, which he felt made science fiction less serious, which was not at all what he was going for in his new show. Lambert quickly encountered two problems. The first being that she wasn't taken seriously by most of the men at BBC, as they were still set in their old ways, and the second was finding a suitable actor to play the Doctor. Hussein suggested William Hartnell, because he saw him as someone with the eccentric and powerful quality required for the part, but still having a kind twinkle in his eye. Hartnell was sceptical at first, but eventually accepted the role. Now the Doctor was cast. Lambert and Hussein just needed to fill his companions, going to William Russell, Jacqueline Hill, and Carol Ann Ford to play Ian, Barbara, and Susan. Production of the first episode was beset with problems, from the TARDIS doors malfunctioning to the sprinklers going off in the middle of a scene. Even worse was that Hartnell was dissatisfied with how the Doctor was written. Despite all the setbacks, they had completed the pilot episode. Sidney Newman was shown the pilot and was so disappointed he considered firing Lambert and Hussein on the spot. But instead, he ordered them to redo it all, after he'd made some improvements to the character of the Doctor and removed or changed many of the features of the serial. Lambert, however, refused one of his orders, being to replace the theme music composed by Ron Grainer and Delia Derbyshire, a decision that we all know was for the best. But eventually it was completely finished, and on November 23rd, 1963, the whole world was treated to the first episode of Doctor Who, which ended up running 80 seconds later than intended. Why? Well, because the previous day was the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, meaning 4.4 million people watched it, a number that increased to 6.5 million by the end of the story. For the next story, Lambert turned to Ray Cusick and Terry Nation to create a futuristic villain. They came back to her with the Daleks, creatures inside of metal machines that's only goal was to exterminate every other life form in the universe. The only problem was they came under Newman's no bug-eyed monsters rule, but Lambert fought to keep them in, a decision that, as we all know, ended up paying off quite well for the show. In 1965, the third series had only just begun, and Lambert left the role of producer, feeling that her time had come, and there comes a time when a series needs new input. But the show, as we know, didn't stop there. It continued on, expanding further and further, becoming one of the most iconic elements of the UK. And that's the story of how Doctor Who started. If you want a much, much better version of the story, I highly recommend watching An Adventure in Space and Time. It goes a lot more in depth and is honestly a wonderful watch. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. And there should be another one out soon, another history video, so stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching.